Hello, my name is Alex Racevich, and I'm doing my presentation today on drones as surveillance and delivery assets. Most of us know drones as kind of a fun hobby or like a nice gift that you get around Christmas time, but as these drones have been become more technologically developed, they have become kind of a key asset in terms of business. But there have also been some pretty big problems that have come with it, so we're going to discuss that today. The history here on drones, actually drones were kind of first started in World War I. That picture there on the right is a picture of the Kettering bug. It was used primarily for warfare. Basically what it was it was made and kind of oversaw by the Wright brothers about a decade after they started their initial flight that started the whole airplane aircraft innovation. This became very popular. They made the Kettering bug. It was a 530-pound plane that included a 180-pound bomb on it, and they used it in warfare that flew about 75 miles away, so it was much more effective than a lot of other military tactics at that time. But it was also a lot safer for the home base because it was an unmanned aircraft machine that flew, so it didn't take any of the people's lives. But the only issue was it could potentially have had friendly fire. It wasn't necessarily very predictable to see where the aircraft landed. So it would essentially just be kind of a planning mechanism to try and figure out where it would actually work and where not to be when it did land. So a couple pros to using drones, kind of in the business sense here. That we're working with today. It's a very direct and efficient form of delivery. You don't need to necessarily load and unload a truck, kind of send it off on the highway to maybe a very indirect route. Drones don't require roads, so they can be flown through the air very directly. Elimination of labor costs. There still, granted, will be people that will have to survey the drones and kind of look over to make sure that everything's running smoothly. But this will basically knock out your costs of, truck drivers and delivery men and all that other labor that's included with it. Portable surveillance. So instead of just a standstill camera or video camera, you can actually move the camera to get possibly different angles of things that are going on, and we'll discuss that later here in this presentation. Elimination of third-party delivery options. So basically, companies can actually have their own drones instead of going out to UPS or FedEx or the Postal Service to try and mail stuff out. They can do it all internally. And obviously, there's a lot of cons that go with drones. Privacy issues. People are kind of concerned about, drones flying around with cameras that could, obviously, one could see that as a threat to privacy. Maintenance repairs. So obviously, with the new kind of steep learning curve here with these drones, we see that there's going to be crashes or whatnot, so there will be maintenance repairs, which kind of leads into my next point here about the liabilities of surroundings. So because they're in a lot of these places that will be getting delivered, will be in urban areas, you're going to have tall buildings, and you could be at risk for a huge liability if you do crash a drone and possibly damage. So it kind of sounds funny, but drone insurance may be actually a thing of the future if drones do indeed continue to take off like they are in the business world. Skepticism, obviously, anytime you kind of enter this new idea, there's always going to be a backlash from people who are skeptical about what the drones are for, what they're doing. And then external violence, when viewed as a threat or warfare affiliated. Like I said, drones, when they officially started off, they were primarily used for military purposes. So, with people using drones now as delivery mechanisms, people could see that as a threat and kind of mistaken drones for a possible spy or some other sort of foreign military use. So, which all of those can lead to inefficiencies within a package or whatever, getting from point A to point B. So, drone delivery today, Zipline has sent drugs from California of blood to Rwanda and other drugs. It can travel up to about 80 miles an hour. It's been proven very effective, and Zipline's kind of been one of the first movers into this market. They've taken off really with this whole notion of sending. It's not the first time. They also have other places set up in Africa, such as Tanzania, where they send U.S.-made blood and pharmaceutical drugs over. They have what they call these drones that you see in the picture, which can carry a decent amount of drugs over. SF Holdings granted its license to use drones for delivering package by the Civil Aviation Administration of China. So about 13.9 billion parcels delivered in the second half of 2017 alone. This happens to be one of China's biggest innovations in recent years. Only about 30% of the airspace is used for available for non-military personnel. So this kind of poses a problem for China, but they have successfully been transferring packages via drones throughout all of China. UPS and FedEx have also been testing out drones, but that's more so just been in the San Francisco area, but it's a very limited area, and they're kind of just holding back to see how well and how long-lasting these drones will last in China. And as I was saying, airspace conflicts, so about only 30% of China's airspace is available for non-military usage, so for drones. Airspace is a debate in many urban areas. I know myself, if I'm working downtown and I see these drones kind of flying around, as in the picture to the right, I would get a little nervous just seeing that. So we look at drone surveillance today. So Google has recently paired with the Defense Department in drone surveillance. AI is the main kind of source here, service that's being provided by Google to the defense. These technologies can be used in warfare, mainly for detection purposes. So they're kind of using it as a camera in these drones to kind of detect just basic things off the bat. So what's a cat look like? Different infrared rays and other stuff. And we'll kind of see that as we go on here, kind of transitioning to the next piece here about drones in the Pittsburgh Police. The Pittsburgh Police has announced that it is looking to use drones, 2 drones in this upcoming summer of 2018. These cameras are only going to be used for fires, search and rescue operations, or active shooters. So basically it's kind of serving as like this helicopter type mechanism up in the sky, kind of as a third eye to see where, for example, a police chase where the suspect may be hiding or running. And then obviously an active shooter, when you're kind of surrounding a building, you kind of want to have an eye up in the sky to see where that person comes out, or if not, if they try to escape. But safety is a large issue here. It's going to hopefully save lives. It's a lot easier to have drones view these situations than the dangerous situations than a human being there. And humans can still see via the camera through the drone. Obviously, there's been quite a backlash. Drones are not going to be used for investigations. I know that a lot of people in Pittsburgh have fought back against this idea, but they're not. They've said that they're not going to use it for investigations or other privacy infringing activities, which many other people have brought up. Which brings me to this point: privacy in drones, infringing on personal privacy. A lot of people are worried about it, but that's a common issue. But cameras have also been used by spies, so it's kind of hard to detect who owns the drone. So if you just see a drone flying by, it's kind of hard to see where that drone has come from or what it's doing or etc., which could easily lead to other people utilizing drones in a malicious way. So where do the future of drones go? Do you think it is a reliable delivery source? I personally, in the United States, do not think it will be reliable. There's a steep learning curve that's going to come with it. A lot of our population lives in dense areas, so it's hard to kind of maneuver these drones around. Impact of privacy on people. I think starting off, if drones do become part of the future, I do think that it will kind of have a shock at first on the privacy aspect, but I think people over time will get more accustomed to it. So recently the delivery packages of drones has been approved in China. Do I think the U.S. will try to implement this? I don't think off the bat. I think they're kind of waiting to see this as a second mover advantage and kind of wait and see how this all plays out with China. And then warfare in drones, how can this aid the U.S.? Obviously, it's a much safer tactic to try to use drones as surveillance than as sending a helicopter or plane or any type of method of surveillance that has people associated with it. So obviously drones are from a third-party location where you can see it. It's not right there on site. So I think that it could be a lot safer and help the U.S. out a lot in its warfare tactics. Thank you very much for watching. Here is a list of my sources, and hopefully you learned something.